Hey everybody, hope y'all are doing good today. Coach Thames here with Coach Ken Taylor. We are in Tsunami Bar Training Center and it's February. And I know when I was coaching what I was doing in February. What were you doing in February?
Absolutely, getting a lot of people ready.
Winter workouts. When we're talking about football especially, winter workouts. Everybody's conditioning, training, trying to get their bodies healthy from the season previous, and now getting ready for the spring because spring ball is right around the corner. And what we want to talk about today is quarterbacks specifically, what they need to do to get ready, because they're a unique animal. When you talk about that quarterback position, it's getting more unique as we develop in the football game with the mobile quarterbacks that throw from a lot of different arm angles. They're mobile, they run, they've got a lot of things going on. Flexibility is a big issue. And so we want to talk about quarterbacks a little bit, and I'm going to turn it over to Ken Taylor, and he's got something he's going to introduce to you to help the quarterbacks specifically. KT, take it away.
Thank you, Robbie. The great thing about what we try to do at Tsunami Bar Sports with our philosophy is use a great technology and not only make it sports specific, but make it position specific. And in the position of quarterback, like Coach Thames just said, man, the requirements for a great shoulder are huge. Now let's look at the shoulder joint. What are the qualifications for a great quarterback shoulder? Well, you know you got to have great stabilization. You want to have tremendous mobilization. So the pliability, the flexibility, it all has to complement basically the groundation, if you will, of what that glenohumeral joint does. And so when we use a technology that, like Tsunami bars, that have a pliability or a deflection activity, then it gives that tendon, the ligament, the soft tissue, a chance to really understand what the leverage system's all about. So if you look at the best throwing quarterbacks in the world, they understand how to take the humerus and complement it with mobility to get the leverage out of the ulna, the radius, all the way up into the wrist and the hands. So without using a bunch of anatomical terms, what we're going to do is we're going to try to use different deflection angles on one of the few joints in the body, by the way, that has a multi-plane ability to rotate in. You know, not most of your joints, even your joints that are considered mobile instead of stable, most of them can't rotate in a three-plane axis, but your shoulder joints can. So that means that it's got to have some extra specific work done to it. So what we would do is we can do, and you might see Trevor Lawrence doing this on the sidelines or some of the other pro quarterbacks that are using our material. But we'll do a basic deflection where I have them go what I call clock arms, where they're just working in a frontal plane, deflecting all the way up. If they hit a spot that they're weak at, then they might want to stay there and put some time under active tension in the weak spot, no matter where it is. Now, that would be the frontal plane. That's the one that I prescribe least. Not that it's not very much an advantage for a quarterback to do that, because you need that, but most of the quarterbacks that we encounter are 3-to-1 ratio strength of the anterior to the posterior. Sure. So what would we do with the deflection for that? We would go more in that, again, that multiplane. We would go up more lateral, more into the medial deltoid. So I do clock arms out to the side, and once I got to my levelness, I would kind of spend some time under that active tension there. So now I'm really getting more of a posterior medial kick and kind of staying out of the anteriors a little bit, but I'm still working the overall mobilization of the shoulder, okay? So that's a couple of just basic ones. Then I like to see as much work done to the posterior deltoid to offset what the anterior pull is in the throw. I like to get as much posterior work as I can. So I'll kind of turn to the side so you can see if I rotate the head of the humerus back and I use this behind the body and I can go one arm or two arms, now my trapezius, my posterior has to gear the deflection effect that's going to vibrate and increase the mobilization of the posterior and the whole glenohumeral joint.
Man, I'll tell you what, that's some outstanding information right there. And on the coaching level, it's hard to do all these things in the weight room atmosphere. You got to have kind of something separate, like a multi-stick or some type of dynamic form of training, so you can get these, because you can't touch this with the barbell and the dumbbells and the lat pull downs and all the other stuff we do. That was incredible. Let me ask you a real quick question, just to differentiate maybe between football players and baseball players.
Right.
Baseball players, they got a different arm angle. They got a different flexion and extension.
Sure.
Decelerators are
Sure.
usually important in a
Sure.
baseball player.
Sure.
How is that compared to a football arm?
Well, they are a little different in throws because the plane and the actual rotation of the humerus is a little bit different plane. But it's kind of like the difference between a hockey strike and a golfing strike.
Right.
There's still rotation to an extension, it just comes off of a different plane. One thing that you want to notice, if I bend this bar and then it kicks like that, that's that lever system, right?
Right.
So that lever system is a common denominator amongst throwing with a baseball, throwing with a football, any kind of rotational throw.
Got it.
It's pretty much the same thing. How are you able to leverage not only the muscle groups, but the skeletal attachment in which the joint that we're talking about today?
Right. And what would you recommend as far as implementation for a little bit of a protocol like Ken just showed you when it comes to fitting it in with the other off-season conditioning that's going on?
Well, again, we like to, at Tsunami Bar Sports, talk about time under tension or time under active tension.
Right.
So this not only would be my preheating device, but I could actually allot certain times in my program to complement any kind of lifting that you were doing with the shoulder, or there'd be, snatches or shrugs or push presses or split jerks or any of those kind of things where that shoulder was actually developing its absolute strength. But remember, absolute strength without speed doesn't have power. So we need the pliability and the deflection activity of this bar to actually develop more speed with the absolute strength of your basic strength movements that we use all the time for quarterbacks.
Man, I tell you what, I love that. We're going right into contrast training.
Absolutely.
So we can get on a particular move that might be a staple in our workout program, and then complement that with this type of training, and you're going to kill two birds with one stone, and you're going to elevate yourself even further
And alleviate injuries.
Man, you can't beat that.
Right.
From Tsunami Bar Training Center, I'm Coach Thames. This is Coach Taylor, and we'll be back with you again real soon.